was a picture of her home with the address, the number, and it was very well laid out.
Saturday,
The front door, the back door. And Michelle decided to call and leave a message and then put it out on social media. And within 24 hours, she got a phone call from a Daryl Ann Steffen. Said, I may have put a letter in a bottle that you found. Well, they both join me now. Michelle Schwengler of Leduc, Alberta, and Daryl Ann Steffen, now live in Calgary. Good to have you, ladies.
Thank you.
Michelle, let me start with you. I mean, this is such a neat story in a time when we don't get many neat stories. I mean, it's just something that you kind of found. It was intriguing. I think what surprised me most is that it was in such good shape, but you actually followed through.
1993. Where are we supposed to be?
Yeah, it was surprising. That's why we kind of thought that it must have been a joke, that somebody must have left it there for us to find because it looked new. Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable.
Garbage doesn't go anywhere.
And so you get this phone, this message, Daryl, and you think, okay, someone's found this, and if you probably forgot that you did it. But what was that like to all of a sudden say, oh my goodness, something I did from that long ago has now connected with someone?
Yes, I did forget I'd done it. When I saw some pictures of the bottle and the image, I was like, it's kind of vaguely bringing back some memories. I remember doing it, and it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of neat that I had done this and forgotten, and it was so long ago, and then it actually did end up connecting, which was the point of it, I guess. And it was long, convoluted wait, but it did what it's supposed to at the end.
It did, and I think it's really neat because now it's connected you in a way that, who knows where the friendship goes from here. But it's certainly, I mean, you moved out to Calgary, but you're still an Albertan. But it does definitely tie you back to your childhood.
Yes, it does. And it's actually kind of interesting because shortly after I had put the bottle in there and was expecting someone to come find me that summer, I actually ended up moving. Yeah, and I actually ended up moving overseas with my family to the Middle East. So they weren't going to find me there, and I was there for a long time, and then I went from there to Calgary. So I'm an Albertan, but I was kind of all over the world, and I was meeting other people all over the world at that time too, and still have friends from there. So it's kind of like that was the catalyst event. Threw the bottle in, and then hoping to make some new friends. And little did I know that I would make many all over the world, and then 30 years later, more back in my hometown. So.
Yeah, and Michelle, it's very neat because
Are you on My World or VCon?
When you hear Daryl talk about traveling all over the world.
I didn't mean to tune in and read this shitty.
I just re-recorded Goosebumps over popcorn, so I'd be yelling at security, Goosebumps, 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 and they'd be like, huh? And I go, popcorn.
Dude, do you think it was riskier doing the pranks that you're doing with a team of people of color as opposed to literally Johnny Knoxville and the Light?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, it's funny. I even talked to Knoxville about this. Knoxville had a prank that he did back in the day.
If a bunch of white dudes are trying to pull pranks in the hood, they might get shot.
He was in an orange prison jumpsuit with handcuffs and leg cuffs, and he went into a hardware store. And he was like, can you saw these handcuffs off me? What do you got? And cops came and almost arrested him. And I was just thinking yeah, me and Rel did that, we'd be dead.
You'd be dead. Yeah. They would shoot you on sight. Yeah,
so there was things like that where it was we had Tiffany in an orange jumpsuit, but you know what? That was a very contained, except for the graffiti removal guy, that we locked down the street for her own safety.
Oh, really?
So we weren't letting pedestrians on that street. We kind of trapped that, unbeknownst to him.
You take your ass off. You better take off. You better run. Man, I'm gonna get my car and I'm gonna go to Mexico and I'm gonna just start all over, man. Get those clothes off and get out of here. Can I borrow your vest? I can't give you my vest. You my lookout. I never forget a face. Good. Thank you for helping me, guy.
Hidden camera means hidden crew, so we kind of isolated that guy without his knowledge, so that Tiffany would be safe.
Oh yeah, I need a light.
I love that guy. Yeah. He was a freaking good sport.
Oh my god.
on top of like the team doing these pranks being black and brown, I noticed a lot of the like civilians and bystanders involved in on the sidelines and wrapped up in these pranks. They're also people of color.
Yeah.
Was that intentional?
That's three friends. The white Justin Trudeau, the brown Justin Trudeau, and the black. Yeah, wait a second. We can capitalize on that.
We filmed the majority of the movie in Atlanta, you know, and around
that explains
Georgia.
a lot.
So there's just a lot of black people. But also, it's a black cast in compromised situation. Our characters are always in compromised situations, and it was just nice seeing black people help black people out. It was like the people we're bringing were like even more invested because me and Rel are in peril in so many situations. And also like black people have better reactions. Like black people are so emphatic and like a lot of people in the movie like wear their heart on their sleeve in the way like they don't hide their feelings. Like some like
we all tuned into the Jack Benny show, but it was to hear Rochester.
Like, well,
we
that's
know,
weird.
we
I'm
know.
just gonna walk away. You know what I mean? Versus the women.
Whereas like the black woman starts praying.
Bad example.
Yeah, literally. Or the woman in the chicken wing shop, J.R. Crickets. That's like when chicken comes in.
Short-haired woman.
Yeah, Jackie. But
she's amazing.
Hey, did you see these dudes? They come up in here. No, they got chicken. Here?
Y'all about to call you.
Did anybody here see you fighting?
They got in the car and was that
And she's like, I was about to call you, girl. When Tiffany came back. She's like, I went to school with the police. I'm in security. I don't forget a face. Like, she's just so charismatic. Like, if she was a stuffy white businessman who's like, you know, works for a hedge fund, I don't think we would have gotten that same.
Yeah. And like, there's also when you're getting those kind of reactions from people of color, it's also revealing something that I never saw a lot of in Punk'd or Jackass or even Borat. And lots of reviewers have spoken about this in the film Bad Trip. There's a certain humanity that's revealed in these people that are being pranked.
Yeah.
They are usually nice, they're usually kind, and they're trying to help in spite of them being totally discombobulated by the prank.
Totally. You know what? When we first showed the movie to Sacha Baron Cohen, he had the best, like, succinct, astute review. And he turned to me and he goes, you know, my movies are about exposing the corruption and hypocrisy of like wealthy white oligarchs. He goes, your movie is about showing the humanity and the beauty and the good Samaritan nature of black people and working class people. And like, I really hope your movie like unites the working class because you are pitted against each other so often through class and race.
Waiting for somebody to throw it at me.
Your movie shows the humanity of the proletariat. And I was like, wow,
why gotta be a proletariat? Why can't it be a free
You can see Eric Andre's Bad Trip on Netflix right now.
Somehow.
Trust me, it'll surprise you.
It doesn't really matter how.
In a good way.
You paid for it. That's supposed to shut people up, right? No. Oh. If you go to golf scores,
and Eric Andre. You can hear more of their chat on Sam's podcast. It's called It's Been a Minute from NPR.
Okay, because I'm not going to look that up. No, I'll feel
mortgage providers are able to search and locate the lowest rates and best terms available, with private lenders offering more flexibility, faster approval.
Why couldn't Buddy's phone be that loud just now when they were doing their fucking... That's like the director's cut audio you're supposed to hear over top of the movie. I'm just basically waiting for the power to go out. Watch, I'll be waiting. I know if I sit here waiting for it to go out, it won't go out. No, it's like the conservative.
I'm on vision. He's not an issue if the battle's full effect and the status members will get you. I'm back in action. Slapping these rappers who want to act as matter of fact.
It's like Mike Harris from the 90s. Doing exactly what he said he would do. They give us notice today that tonight they're turning off the power all night. Oh, thanks. So I do know, if nothing else, the power will likely go out. some point tonight till tomorrow morning, it will be off. So, but if it doesn't go off, I'll be upset. I'll be upset.
Slacking up on the set, send him sentimental words of gum.
When everything works correctly, there's a generator that kicks in instantly, and there's no cut.
I'm a sensible cat, sing a song, a slice of bonus, it's a piece of my set. Set the traps cause I'm a savage, you the salmon I catch. 100 dead MCs in the thread of my net. The smell of death in my direction is starting to affect them. The fact of the matter is I'm a master, it's automatic. The idiomatic addict is addict cause I just had it with those who say the damage. I don't condone the domes who don't control and manage the flows to cause a panic, so step back. Give your head a shake and don't come back. I snap heads back till they cook up from right hooks and right hooks of demons. Oh, I need you to leave shook. Never see a person scalped in the daylight. Imagine how we act in the middle of the night. A bunch of savages running through your city like a pack of rabid dogs. I'ma unleash the pities, pissing on your property, marking our territory. After it gets dark is when it starts to get gory. Murdering MC streams on the beat, cause getting murdered on a microphone is worse to me. Spit it high. Marines above average, my lyrics are like algebra, getting that mathematics. Flipping the clip, the automatic pistol weapons start static. I'm taking a break off cause I ain't
The couple separated in 1966 but didn't divorce until 1984.
Yeah,
and this episode first aired in 1950. It's a complex story of murder and extortion, and it's entitled The Dog Bed Caper.
The National Broadcasting Company presents The Adventures of Sam Spade, Detective.
So I want to hear this.
We are awake, we are again dreaming, because we think when will this end. When I stand in my balcony, I can listen to only one sound, and that is ambulance. When I go around for filming, the things that I witness around is complete breakdown of everything.
More stories from our journalists in India on the 5th floor after the latest BBC News.
Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. Australia has made it temporarily illegal for its citizens to return home if they've been in India in the past 2 weeks. From Monday, anyone who breaks
pretty specific.
That comes into this country, but is that scenario realistic or even likely? Global's Dave Woodard says at least one expert says probably not.
Premier Ford said during his press conference that he was concerned about changing new variants.
It is becoming more deadly. It is becoming smarter.
But could a fourth wave happen and could it be fueled by vaccine-resistant variants? Epidemiologist Dr. Colin Furness says that yes, COVID does mutate, but it's not as though we wouldn't know about a mutation before it got here.
It's important also to know
that's
that
not
COVID
true because I was sick in December.
He says the reason a disease mutates is because it can find many hosts.
China was talking about South Africa's variants
rampant spread, like the UK and India. He calls the Premier's comments irresponsible.
December 1st.
Or trying to distract attention from, I think, what's really important right now, which is decreasing transmission.
Dave Woodard, Global News.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford is calling for stricter measures at the border as his province battles a fourth wave driven by variants of COVID-19. Well, Ford notes that variant that first emerged in India and is now sweeping through that country is also present in Ontario.
And it didn't swim here, I can tell you that. In fact, we learned yesterday that 90% of average daily cases this week are variants of concern. The same variants that fueled our devastating third wave. And they got in because of weak border measures.
Well, Ford is calling for mandatory hotel quarantines for travelers who enter at land border crossings, calling it a massive loophole in the system. But the Prime Minister maintains there are already tight controls at land crossings, including COVID-19 tests before and after arrival and mandatory 2-week quarantines. Now, in the meantime, there is good news tonight for students at Ontario's colleges and universities.
Just as it did last year, the province is extending its tuition freeze for post-secondary students by another year. St. Wants to protect students and families' pocketbooks during the pandemic. However, domestic
Canada has paused the rollout of the J&J vaccine after a mix-up at a Baltimore plant.
A new study says the Brazilian part of the Amazon forest released more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere in the past decade than it absorbed. Large-scale logging and forest fires lit deliberately to clear land are being blamed.
Jungle kill
The report
you.
says the Amazon as a whole is carbon neutral. Here's our America's editor, Leonardo Rocha.
researchers found out that between 2010 and 2019, 10 years, Brazil has about 60% of the Amazon forest. They released 20% more CO2, carbon dioxide, than they absorbed. So what this study said is the Brazilian Amazon has flipped, and they are now a net emitter of CO2. CO2, of course, being the gas that's so important to regulate climate change.
StoryToronto.com. Taking a look in on sports, the Blue Jays opening up a 3-game set against the Braves tonight in Dunedin. The game now in the bottom of the 7th, and the Blue Jays leading the Braves 12-2. The forecast from the Global News Weather Center,
That was a fire truck.
Night, along with some cloud cover, and the mercury tonight dropping to the freezing mark. I'm Darren Boland. This is Global News.
Attacks. A World Trade Organization meeting has failed to agree on a proposal to waive patent rules for pandemic-related products. The 60 countries who are backing the waiver say it would allow more companies to produce vaccines. Our economics correspondent Andrew Walker has more detail.
Under WHO rules, countries are expected to provide protection for patents and other types of intellectual property so the people or...
It's the weekend, for goodness sakes. We're in a COVID crisis, right? And we can't be serious all the time. All right, you got to be up to
You gotta do me with some hash in your past. So let's take a couple of dabs and I'm passionate, smashing it, best ass up gaps since the last visit.
Check this recital, yes, I'm vital, never idle. We don't acquiesce and carry stress or harbor rivalry. When grinding full strength, we like.
I call them Bono. Or Bono.
The hero burner be my destiny, conspires and continues to inspire me. My eyes and my mind remain open. It's like a black hole to the soul, and no, I'm not joking. It's real. I maintain and incorporate how I feel, where I'm from, why I'm ill. Castle Mountain, Castle Hill, and that whole area. If words could kill a man, my bro was on a barrier. It's getting scarier. I mean, it's scarier. It was on the barrier. Ended up 47 feet up in the area. Cause I'm coming through, and my teacher damager. Real games up to fuck you up is going.
And I'm bending the rules by telling you in advance that you're about to hear, technically, tape. Of course, you hear tapes all the time. You watch newscasts and they run pieces that they record early. It's not that big a deal, but I'm breaking a little bit of rule here because it sort of takes that theater of the mind happening right now aspect out of it. So I'm breaking a little bit. I'll tell you why I'm breaking.
What's the name of that piece?
Because I haven't stopped laughing since we did the interview. And anybody
It's dum-dums taking over in the common world, but here we are gonna rise up and be the conquerors.
306 in the 604, had to hit the YBR for that sushi roll. Ooh, let me tell them just who we are. Nowadays we got made to be movie stars, do be lit, bumping funk dubious, the heat treat, spilling on my coochie fit, true MC. I don't care how cool you is, if you grip that mic, you better do that shit. Got the licks like damn, who that kid? That's when I take time to tell them who I am. It's an ER, don't knock for me, y'all. Out in YYC where they all fucking ER. But me, y'all, came straight from the past. Rose from the earth with a face full of ash. Old man eagle sees snakes in the grass. Swoop down, cross to the face of the map.
I want my Canadians back. I want them back. So Mark Bonagowski has that self-deprecating humor, regardless of whether there's a pandemic and regardless of whether, and I'll tell you right now, regardless of whether he's fighting cancer. He's in a serious fight with cancer. You may or may not be able to tell just by listening to Mark's voice. But he's not lost a sliver of his sense of humor. And about, I guess, a half hour ago, Ryan Leehall, who is our technical producer, I said, and I'm going to quote Ryan, I hope he doesn't mind here, in our little talkback chat system that we have, I said, hi team, about an hour ago, and I signed on to this page, and Ryan said, hello, I'm listening to the Bonagowski tape right now. What a character, exclamation mark, and I just wrote back, love the guy, I used to interview him regularly years ago. Anyway, this is just to say that if you want to hear a Canadian who is just as Canadian today, totally unaffected by the pandemic, still has a great sense of humor, takes shots and lots of shots at himself. Oh, he takes shots at others too. I don't want to kid you about that. He takes shots at others, real good ones. Mark Bonakoski, Bono, or Bono. You can pronounce it any way you like. Bono is joining us in about 20 minutes from right now. Okay. Time to get serious now. Okay. And yes, this is COVID related. And yes, I will be opening up the phones. Okay. You can text or call us at, 877-399-9898. Just about gave you Bono's number. Looking at his number. No, you don't want to call him, especially now, a little after 10 o'clock Eastern time. Not a good time. If this was a good time to call him, I'd have him on live. Not good. All right, so I wanted to focus a little bit here on vaccine tourism, because Canadians are going to the States like every hour, okay, to get the jab. And I want you to tell me, and I'll share, of course, how I feel about it. Is there anything wrong with that? Years ago, remember we used to talk about cross-border shopping? Canadians going to Walmart, to Target, across the line. And people were very polarized about it. I tended to, because small business has supported me all my life, and I'm a son of blue-collar folks who started their little one-horse operation business. I tended to support the idea of Canadians shopping for as much as possible in Canada, but I can't blame people for getting the bargains. And when the dollar was at the same level, when we had a dollar at par, you could actually shop with Canadian dollars in many stores just across the line from Canada. There was a lot more of it than there is now. But what about cross-border vaccinations? Not shopping, cross-border vaccinations, or what some people call vaccine tourism. I want you to listen to Robin Gill of Global National, and then what we'll do is we'll run her report, and then I'll take phone calls asking you how you feel about the Canadians who are doing this. Ryan, let's roll.
Most Canadians wouldn't know where Muncie, Indiana is, but Alyssa Johnston grew up here. And 3 weeks ago, she left Toronto for her hometown to get vaccinated. She just received her second dose.
It was a little shocking coming from Canada, where it's almost like the Hunger Games, and trying to find a vaccine, and coming here where they're being handed out like candy.
3 years ago, Natasha Freitas and her family immigrated to Canada. When they found they could get the shot in Ohio, they hit the road. Now they're hanging out in the Catskills Mountains waiting for dose 2.
Part of our motivation was the healthcare system in Canada. So it's been really somewhat ironic to be in a situation where we're going to the States for healthcare.
Many states in the U.S. are dropping their residency requirement, and there are no lineups, so anyone can walk into an American pharmacy and get a shot. This immigration lawyer based in Washington State says it's a new era of medical tourism.
Is this in exchange for all the Canadian whiskey we sent you?
If you're coming down for elective surgery and you want to pay for it.
But the second in command at Canada's Public Health Agency is towing the line and asking Canadians to respect travel restrictions.
Stay at home, wait your turn, and I think certainly the doses are coming.
Stay at home. Wait your turn. Be a good Canadian. Don't jump the queue by going to the States. So I just wonder, are you jumping the queue?
Union of Socialist Canadian Provinces.
You take yourself out of the lineup, the Canadian lineup.
We got to find a way to add the letter.
Canadian
everything else
right
is
in there.
Even Europe.
Are you really taking away anything
African
from
Union?
Is there anything wrong with that?
United Nations.
And can you blame people
United States of Mexico
who don't want to wait for 2 months or 3 months for the second shot, especially since
Chuck,
the drug companies themselves
for like 2 minutes now.
Say you ought to take it within 21 or 28 days. Basically, you ought to take it within 1 month, not 3 months. Can you blame Canadians for doing some vaccine tourism?
Aren't they allowed to?
Let's get the tail end of Robin's report telling us what's what.
But Canada's rollout has been slow. There's the wait for the first vaccine. There's also the 4-month delay for the second dose. Natasha Freitas does feel conflicted that she's able to do this.
It's great for me, but it doesn't feel as good as it would if everybody were vaccinated.
Same goes for Alyssa Johnston.
It's one more vaccine available to a Canadian up in Toronto who needs it. I'm not taking, a vaccine that I don't need to take in Canada.
They avoided the long lineups.
Protect you? If you believe it's going to work for you and they're offering it to you, take it. I don't agree with all the ingredients in the shit.
Gujarat has seen 2 major events.
And I don't agree with all the theories. But
Since mainly in the rural part of the state, elections were conducted in the last week of February, and the results were declared in the first week of March. There were 10 numbers of political rallies conducted. Literally, people thought that there is no COVID existed in Gujarat. You can clearly see pictures where people were celebrating, people were gathering together, dancing and all that. We were out there reporting this gatherings and all. We tried to follow the norms, but it was impossible. That elections played very important role in the spread of the virus in this second wave, because in the first wave, Gujarat witnessed only cases in the urban areas. But right now, we are seeing large numbers of population in rural areas also been infected because of this political meetings and all that. The problem is that the health facilities and all are very limited in rural areas. So all that population has shifted to urban localities, and the burden on urban hospitals has increased 4 times or 5 times. That is one reason of the second wave. Along with that, I would also say that 2020 cricket matches were conducted over here in the world's largest cricket stadium. The entire stadium with a capacity of over 100,000 people. It was packed jam. So the Narendra Modi Stadium's first match was full with people exactly during March when cases were on the rise.
It's packed jam up in this motherfucker.
So we were out during this cricket match also, and we saw many people not wearing masks. Social distancing was a joke during that time. When you are out there in reporting and when you try to follow all the norms, when you wear mask and maintain a social distance and you ask the questions with people, that feeling is very weird when people see you as, what is he doing? Why is he wearing mask? I have told many people to wear masks during the live, but they don't listen to that and they say that, why are you so scared, Because there were some days when 0 cases were reported in Gujarat in the month of January and February. So people started to think that, okay, COVID is gone and there is no need of sanitizers, there is no need of social distancing, and there is no need of mask as well. That feeling is very weird. You are like an odd man out into that entire process. There were many people who came to see matches from the nearby states like Rajasthan or from Delhi or from Maharashtra or from Mumbai, where the cases right now are on rise. So I would say that cricket match and political gatherings and all that, they played a very important role in spreading the virus in the second wave in Gujarat.
Roxy Dekhar Chahara. The worst hit state in India is Maharashtra, and it was also the site of a tragedy in hospital last week. Here is BBC Marathi.
My name is Anagha Pathak and I work for BBC Marathi. I'm based in Maharashtra, that is the Western Indian state, and my hometown is Nashik, that is 180 kilometers away from Mumbai. Last week I was here covering oxygen leak, and due to that oxygen leak, 24 people died.
Are on her end.
There was some fault in the central oxygen system, and the oxygen was leaking for half an hour. So almost half an hour there was no oxygen,
One of my
and
grandfather's
COVID
jobs was
patients
to
were
maintain
gasping
medical
for air, and
equipment. I don't know
it was scary
precisely
just
what
to
that
imagine
included,
what
but
those people must have
included
gone
that
through.
at any time.
They couldn't even breathe. They couldn't survive.
Hello and welcome to this Facebook Live. I am Anagha Pathak and I'm standing outside this Zaki Roshan Hospital in Nashik, where 22 COVID-19 patients have been confirmed they have died due to leakage of oxygen.
I was at the hospital. It was the back entrance of the hospital, and there were lots of ambulances and hearses carrying dead bodies.
If you can just see, this is white.
It was a really sad scene at the time. I even while I was doing the live, I couldn't speak. I choked at a point because I saw a woman, she nearly fainted because she lost her husband. So yeah, COVID has hit India pretty bad, and I'm in Maharashtra, which is the worst heat state of the country.
Anaga Pathak in her hometown of Nashik, Maharashtra. BBC Hindi's Kirti Dubey is based in Delhi, but through a local reporter, she managed to compile a report about the harsh reality of families trying to arrange funerals for their loved ones in the Uttar Pradesh capital, Lucknow.
As the second wave unfolded, I did report on overflowing crematoriums across India and how people have to wait outside with corpses of their relatives. And I spoke with a man in the city of Lucknow who lost his younger brother. He tells me that he was running for beds, one hospital to another, because his brother's oxygen level was really low. And after spending 2 days searching for hospital, he couldn't find and he couldn't save his brother. And the misery is, after even dying, he had to wait for 12 hours outside the crematorium to cremate his brother. He said that I couldn't mourn for my brother because I'm collecting votes, filing papers, completing formalities, and instead of crying for my little brother who was younger than me, I'm actually waiting for this queue to end and just to cremate because it's been long. I have spent 2.5 days searching for a bed and now waiting outside just to cremate my brother. His wording actually stuck to me that first, a person has to struggle for oxygen, for bed, for treatment, and even after death, a dead have to wait outside the crematorium. I mean, if apocalypse has a face, I mean, it's Indian crematorium and hospitals right now.
Kirti Dubey. We also asked our colleagues if there was a person, a report, or even an image that summed up the whole tragedy for them. Here is Roxy again in Gujarat.
When I was going through some newspapers, I saw an image in a local newspaper wherein there were 3 elements in that picture. There was a dead body of a woman who was sitting on a wheelchair, and there were 3 ambulances kept right near that wheelchair, and there was an oxygen tank, huge oxygen tank in front of that wheelchair, and there was also a stretcher near that wheelchair. That lady died because she was not able to get ambulance. If she would have got the ambulance, she might be able to get oxygen. Because she was not able to get ambulance and oxygen, she died right in front of both oxygen and ambulance, and that picture has actually broken my heart. I mean, that picture describes today's present situation of Gujarat. People are dying right now outside hospitals. They are not getting any help. There are no ambulances, there is no oxygen, there are no medicines. So that is the image, I think, that will remain with me forever.
Roxy Gaktakar Chahara of BBC Gujarati. And for BBC Marathi's Anaga Pathak, the COVID pandemic hit very close to home.
This COVID-19 is not just a story for me. It also hits a personal note because I also lost my aunt due to COVID. And it was, how should I put it? It was really sad and scary at the same time because when we got the news that she is no more and the hospital released her body, I asked my father there who will be there, and he had no answer because you know what COVID does to you? It kills you and it makes you lonely in the end. And not just the person who has died is lonely, the person who has survived is also lonely. I'm a Hindu, and in my community, women usually don't go to crematorium. But I told my father that, I'll come. And he didn't hesitate because someone should be there. We were just 4 people there. It was me, my father, my another uncle, and someone from my aunt's maiden family. That was the first time I entered a crematorium in a family surrounding. And no one even blinked an eye because nobody had time to think about it. So I was there in the crematorium and I climbed up to the platform and there were 8 pyres burning at the same time. And it's scary to even tell you that I couldn't even recognize where my aunt's pyre was. I didn't know. My father pointed out to one pyre and said, that's Nita, that's my aunt's name, that's her. And I was standing there in the middle of 8 pyres, and The heat was coming to my body. I could feel the heat. It was hot everywhere. I was wearing 2 masks and face shield, and I was all sweaty. My face was all wet, and I couldn't tell the difference that whether it was sweat or tears. No one was there. Not her husband, not her kids, not her family, not my mother, not her family, like her maiden family. And I wanted to cry. But I couldn't even, find someone's shoulder to cry on. And I am sure this must have happened to everyone. Imagine her husband, my uncle, who was lying on a bed in a hospital all alone. His wife had died, and he couldn't do the last rituals of her. And imagine the guilt that he must be having, and imagine the guilt that he will take to his last breath, that I couldn't do even the last rites for my wife. It's so lonely. It's so lonely for the people who are dying, and it's so lonely for the people who are even surviving, that you can't even cry on someone's shoulder. You can't do the last rites properly. You can't even talk to the other person and share your grief. That's what COVID is for me, my family, and I'm sure that must be COVID for so many families. Every 3-4 minutes, one hearse, one ambulance arrives with a body in it. 3-4 people come, and everything ends in like 5 to 10 minutes. Usually, if you see such kind of Indian family, there will be at least 50 people, minimum 50 people in the crematorium, and hundreds of people back home. No one is there right now. It's all alone. It's just the burning fires, people who are working in the crematorium, and one person who is there to